As the mandala wheel continues to turn, we are now finding ourselves entering through gate number 45 within Gemini season. This is still in the throat center, and as you can see, there are a lot of throat activations during Gemini, which is an air sign. And this time we're going to be leading towards the heart center. So this is an opportunity to really look at tribal energy. The name for this gate is gathering together. We gather together with our friends, our family, our community, and the larger group, which is humanity itself. This is also going to link us back to the Ring of Prosperity. So, a couple of lessons ago, you had an opportunity to learn about gate number 16. And this is the other component to that. So, as a refresher to the Ring of Prosperity through the teachings of the Gene Keys by Richard Rudd, this codon ring is the master program in your DNA for activating true prosperity. This ring produces a high frequency, generating vast abundance across the gene pools. The Ring of Prosperity shows that the more we diversify and unite our resources, the more successful and efficient we will become. Through the fusion of human talent, coupled with the power of group synergy, anything becomes possible. So this truly is about gathering together. And in the teachings of the I Ching, we're going to learn that rulership, which means a firm alignment to something that is greater than yourself, the ultimate authority, that which is supporting everyone, is going to bring together a strong community. So when you align to what is of your highest good and you follow the path towards that, the path of prosperity, not only are you going to flourish, but those around you, those within the circle of getting the best of who you are, is also going to flourish as a result. So let's dive right in to take a look at the properties of the gate. And again, check your human design chart to see if you have that throat center colored in. If you have gate number 45 circled within your chart. And if so, this is one of the expressions of your voice. You have consistent energy coming into this center. If you have the throat center white and you have gate number 45 circled, you're going to have inconsistent energy flowing through. So you are receiving the energy of the collective. You may really feel and experience this through what you're picking up at a collective level, but it also is there to help move you through connecting to your own voice, your own expression, and you will have that activated for you whenever you're in the presence of somebody who has the center colored in. If you're coming in as part of the inner alchemy, the turning of the mandala wheel, then during this time in the activation, everyone within the collective consciousness is receiving the activation of gate number 45. So we have experiences throughout our entire year to go through each one of the 64 gate activations. And at this time, we're really being stimulated in our awareness of what it means to gather together. This is all about the expression of the voice that goes, I have or I have not. And really leading into that for yourself to notice, do you have a tendency to either speak that out loud, to hear it from your mind, which means that it is in your vibrational energy field. So if you were to ask of yourself, do you have a tendency to notice more of what you have, or do you have a tendency to notice more of what you do not have? So this is about the king or queen leading through education. So we have the king, which is our divine masculine, the way that our mind talks to us. We have the divine feminine, which is the queen, the body, the intuition. That is also an aspect of us. So we're being taught at all times by the way our mind feels and perceives things, the way the body feels and perceives things. And this is how the inner spirit, the inner child within you, learns through what you are feeding it. We're either going to help our spirit to rise in those higher vibrating energies, or we keep ourselves contained out of that fear-based mentality. So this is really a gate of action and willpower. The throat center is not just about communication, it's also about metabolism, and metabolism in the form of energy. So, how you process energy, how you bring things out into the world of form, of manifestation, what you believe you can do, the actions that you'll take in accordance to that, everything has a direct relationship. And that relationship starts by what you believe in your mind, the conditioned narrative that you have been born into as a result of your placement. And whatever that placement was, it was correct for you. It was what your soul was asking for in its experience to help it grow through the concepts of I have or I have not. When we step into prosperity, prosperity is different for each and every one of us. And it is really based on connecting to your core values. What is most meaningful for you? And then really assessing your life and leading yourself towards those areas that do bring you the greatest satisfaction. So in this case, gate 45, it really has the potential to oversee great wealth and well-being within the home and the community. And again, that wealth is what it means to you. Sometimes it means that there is a lot of money coming in, a lot of resources coming in. At other times, it might mean that there's greater amounts of time to spend doing the things that you love, or a family that is very healthy, that is full of laughter and abundance and lightness. So it's really defining what that is for yourself. If you were to give a definition to the word wealth as it applies to you, what does that look like? And if you were to look at the word well-being, well, what does that also look like for you? So learning to get your clarity and not just asking your mind, but leaning into your body to ask those questions to really see, what is the most important? What is rising up for you in this contents? What do you feel that you already have that you can be very, very grateful for? You can feed that energy into your vibration. And where are you feeling a lack, a sense of I have not? And really kind of sitting in that energy, not as a judgment, but as an opportunity to talk to your spirit, your inner soul self, to ask what it needs in order to feel more grounded, more wealthy, more nourished and taken care of from a realistic sense of what it is that you are here to accomplish within this lifetime. You're going to know for yourself what feels to be a good investment and what should be ignored. So the world tries to sell us things all the time. And this is where your experience with emotional energy is really going to help you. And reminding yourself that if you have this emotion center colored in, the solar plex, you're not designed to be spontaneous. You're not designed to make decisions under emotional pressure. So a lot of times when we look back at our lives and we notice decisions that we made or things that we felt we needed to acquire, if we made them when we were riding an emotional wave really high and feeling good, you might be aware that you tended to take on a lot more things than were reasonable, or went on a little bit of a shopping spree and maybe bought things that you really did not need. And then when those waves do come down, it's kind of looking back going, oh my gosh, I wish I didn't buy all that. Or the bills start to come in, and then it's this overwhelming sense of, I can't afford to do that. Or I didn't want to commit my energy to that if you signed up for something. So when we learn through life's experiences the value of patience and the value of not jumping in to do what we believe everybody else is doing, or falling into the pressures of brand names, or having to be a certain somebody in order to fit in. But we really sit in the worth and value of our own heart center. And we're going to see how it has such a strong relationship to that heart center that really does carry the conditioned aspects of self-esteem, self-worth, and value. So knowing for yourself and using your life experience as your greatest teacher to reflect back, to gather all of those experiences that you have had, and to notice for yourself, well, what did you invest in? Your time, your energy, your resources that really paid off for you? And which ones can you look back with some humor now and go, I really did not need that experience. I didn't need that item. I didn't need to adopt that belief system, but I am grateful for what it has taught me. So now when you bring those elements together, you bring the two halves of Gemini, the ability to look at this and to look at that, and you merge it together. Now you're starting to be able to extract the wisdom. So you might be somebody that says, I always make the wrong decisions. There's never enough for me. I don't have what everybody else has. It is an opportunity to flip that around and really look at what you bring to the table. And I'm always reminded of the story of the stone soup, where we all have a pot. We all have the ability to heat that pot and to start warming up. We all have the ability to put a rock in that pot, which means it's a potential for something to be created. And when we believe in its potential and we allow ourselves to open up to the resources around us, this is where we see other people coming in the door. And in the story of the stone soup, somebody comes in and they bring in some carrots. Somebody else brings in some potatoes. Somebody else brings in some celery. Somebody else has some onion. They're all captivated by the idea of whatever is brewing in this pot, the potential for the alchemy of the creation. And at the end of the story, the pot is now a simmering soup that is flavorful. It has the aroma. Everyone that was gathered was patiently waiting for it to reach its full potential. And then it was shared with so many. But the origin where it started from was somebody's belief, somebody's courage to go within themselves and to extract a nugget, to look at what they could bring to the table and to trust to put it out on the table and to open up for those that complement that experience. This is how we learn and grow through the king and queen leading through education, through the tribal energy of not working in silos, not being by ourselves, not staying separate from humanity or feeling like we have to compete, but learning how to share our resources, our talents, our energy with one another to maximize results. Oftentimes, those that have gate 45 and they've really stepped into their life experiences, well, they're in a really good position to help others with financial wisdom. And it doesn't mean that all of your finances are in beautiful order, but you may have some great life experiences that can sit with somebody else, that could lead them through a process that you eventually learn to go through yourself based on life, based on that journey. You might have a very keen sense, again, of investments. It's just natural to you. Knowing how to manage your money, knowing how to distribute your money, knowing how to do a budget. There's so many ways that this can play out. And knowing that money is a big part of what it means to be human. That is the commodity, that is our energy that we are trading. We are trading our time for money, and then the money then feeds us, clothes us, houses us, all of those different components that are needed. There is also an opportunity because this is in the throat center. And the throat center comes with that impulse of wanting to jump in to help, wanting to express itself, wanting to manifest something. It's also the opportunity to sit in the patience, to sit in the wisdom, to sit as the king or queen, overseeing what is going on around you, being the observer and being very aware that you have the full picture. So it is one thing to offer advice and another thing to become involved with other people's financial drama. So it's an opportunity to teach ourselves. Can you stay in the high seat with an objective view to administer wealth for the greatest good? And I feel that what that is really teaching us is when we are sitting in a position where you've learned some very strong financial lessons, you've had to learn how to work with a budget, you've had to learn to work with your resources, you're working hard for your money, you're paying the bills, perhaps you are sitting in abundance and prosperity. When you approach that from the position of what it took for you to get there, the willpower that you needed, the patience that you needed, the self-sacrifice that was needed, the teaching lessons along the way, because it's not all that easy. Well, you have a lot of resources to share with others. But the greatest resource you can share with others is the gift of your wisdom, your life experience. But all too often, what happens is we get caught up in someone else's drama. We get caught up in their lack story. And if you've had a lack story for yourself, you might very easily fall into somebody else's lack story and want to come to the rescue. As the observer in that, you are being asked to really evaluate and to sit in the mindfulness of yourself of knowing if you're to jump in to rescue someone in their financial drama, are they likely to repeat it again? Do they have a pattern of constantly going through financial crisis? Is there areas in their life where they're funneling time and resources that are seeping money and abundance away from them? Is there opportunity where they can steer themselves in a different direction to get a better hold over their finances? Areas to reduce spending, areas where they're spending foolishly, really becoming aware of the bigger picture. What is happening behind the scenes? So when we talk about really looking at what is a sound investment and what is not, it's really looking at our tendency to jump in and want to save and want to fix and want to prevent somebody else's experiences. But if you were to look at that from the higher vantage point, the position of the king or the queen leading through education, I call that the crone energy, right? So the wise one, the elder of the tribe. one that has gone through life experiences. A lot of times when we go without, we learn how to be resourceful. We learn that there's many ways to collaborate with others. Sometimes it is then getting enough willpower to go out and change our life. If we are expecting instant gratification, if we're drowning in credit card debt, if we are spending foolishly, living beyond our means, then to rescue somebody, to have it funnel in those directions, is not rescuing somebody. It is investing in their self-sabotage. And this is where it really takes a lot of courage because it's so easy to get emotionally invested in the family, in the tribe, in your loved ones' health and well-being, in the narrative to the story that you may have for them of what their life should be, how it could play out. It could be difficult to watch somebody suffer. But just like the caterpillar has to go into the cocoon and has to go through this period of some deep inner reflection, it has to go through its struggles in life in order to be able to fly. And if we are impatient in that and we try to open up the cocoon, we try to force the emergence of the butterfly, then the wings are not strong enough to fly. And we see this out in the world with so many children who then become teenagers, who then at some point in time leave the home to go out into the world. And whether that's going to post-secondary or a trade or just moving in with their own life, a lot of children are leaving the nest without the skills, the life skills needed in order to stand strong in their own foundation. So prosperity and wealth is not just about providing for others through money. It is about creating a structure and an environment that empowers each individual to be self-sufficient. And a lot of times our greatest resource will be our patience, will be our understanding, will be the ability to share life experience and wisdom, and then to stand back and let somebody else walk their journey, to learn and to grow and to have their own experiences. So being really mindful that this is all energetically designed to keep you in a position of higher authority, to keep you as the observer, overseeing the wealth and the well-being within the home and within the community without trying to control everything. It is a position that can be of respect, really honored, where people come to you because they value your advice. They know it is safe to come and talk to you, that you're not going to judge, that you're not going to berate them, but that they can have an honest conversation and perhaps you will share some wisdom to help them self-actualize and then go do something that empowers themselves so that they can come back and they can share with you what they've done. And together as a family unit, whether that's in the home or in the business, you can celebrate those successes. Not having someone that is so dependent on you that you literally have them clinging to your leg, that they do not know how to stand on their own 2 feet because there is a dependency upon you for their health and well-being. So we want to be really honest with ourselves in this tribal energy and to step into our own awareness of whether we're standing on our own 2 feet to be self-sufficient and whether we are allowing others the same grace to stand on their own 2 feet. So here we have the relationship through the potential of what is known as the channel of money. This is our throat heart connection. So, yes, money is purely an energy. Money is where we are spending a lot of our time. It is our greatest commodity. It is tribal in nature. This is how we barter. This is how we trade. This is how we provide for our lifestyle. Those of us that have that heart center white, you have it undefined in your chart. This is where you're receiving collective energy. And you're receiving collective energy in terms of self-esteem, self-worth, and value, which means it's a high area of conditioning by the world around us that teaches us, well, what is of value, who is worthy, who is not worthy. We live in a world that from the time you are a child, you are born into commercialism. You are raised to be the consumer. You need certain toys in order to do something. You need certain items in order to fit in at school. You need to look like so and so in order to be successful. We're given a picture of what success means. We're taught to compete with one another to get that vision of success. And when it doesn't measure up to the world around us or what we're feeling in the heart of us, then there's this energy that then starts to diminish the self, to start believe that it's not worthy. And we're really here to change that vibration by learning to clear out all the collective shadow in the heart that prevents us from opening up to life and trusting that we were born worthy. The child comes into the world absolutely perfect. It comes in with a divine blueprint to carry out exactly what it is that the soul came here to share with others. You are a unique flower, but we spend so much time investing into the seeds and the potentials of others or trying to clone ourselves to be another, but yet you're the only one that has your fingerprints. You're the only one that can bring you. But it is scary to be you out in the world because the world doesn't support individualism. It tries to get us all to be the same. So when we really step into that and apply it into the channel of money, and we look at the gate it's coming from, gate number 21 within that heart center, this is the energy of control. Now, control works two ways. Control in a high vibration teaches us all about the gift of authority. Now, this isn't authority to someone else outside of you. This is the authority of your higher self, your soul self that is not separate from you. It is trusting in your ability to know what is correct for you, to trust in your decisions, to stand firm in your belief system, to really connect yourself to what is of the highest good. And that moves us towards valor. Someone who is in the highest vibrating energy of valor is like the knight in shining armor, but it doesn't care if it gets acknowledgement. It knows for itself what it has done, and it doesn't need to be seen in that. And that is where we see a lot of the world's philanthropists, where they do make a lot of money and they give it and donate it to so many different areas of contribution for the betterment of societies, for the health and well-being of others. And they know what they're doing, but nobody else really knows how to trace it back to them. That's valor. That is stepping into the ultimate control without a need to feed the personal ego. When we're in a lower vibrating energy, we're either trying to control someone else. So in this case, it's controlling how somebody spends their money, how they earn their money, what they do with their money, what they tend to contribute into the family. And a lot of us do that. A lot of us do that by having an opinion about how somebody else should be living their life. And when they're not living their lives the way we want them to live their lives, we judge them. We berate them. We may withhold love from them. We may be in a position where we lend somebody money, but that comes with conditions. It comes with telling them how to spend it. It comes with a judgment on how they manage it. It comes with an expectation that it's going to be paid back. And if it's not paid back, it creates all sorts of energy that hurts the relationship. So a lot of times we get stuck in those lower vibrating energies of controlling others, or we're allowing ourselves to be controlled. We're giving away our own power to the things that are ours ultimately to be responsible for. We are each responsible to become self-sufficient in order to thrive in the world. We are no longer here to survive. We all have access to food, to water, to housing. There are resources in place to provide that. And yes, there are areas of the world that are underpoverished. But if we look at that in terms of the corruption in the government systems and in the organizations that aren't allowing the people to be fed, it's not that there's a lack of food and resources in the world. There is a low vibration of control that is controlling those resources in the world. So we're not in that survival state. We are in that ability to really thrive and to maximize life. But it only comes by building a strong foundation of who you are and to really lift yourself up, lift up your confidence and lift up that of the workplace, of the community, of the tribe, of the town, of the city, of the larger communities of the world, to all contribute what they're here to do to the best of their ability. So it is really designed through that channel of money, through that flow of energy, to help us make and acquire money. It is an energetic connection. It is available to all of us. If you allow yourself to trust in sharing your gifts, your talents, without putting restrictions on them. Going back to the stone soup, seeing the value of that stone, the raw element. It didn't look fancy, it wasn't prettied up, but it believed in its potential. When we get into that vibrating state of believing in our attention, that we deserve to have an abundance of wealth and prosperity, well, you're putting it out into your vibrational field. This is the law of attraction. You will get back those things that support your belief system. You will be given the people that support you for what is of the highest good. And when you move into that higher vibrating energy of trusting in your authority, really knowing your true needs, having fun with your life, giving from your heart, making the decisions from that higher viewpoint to empower everybody to be their best selves, it just keeps rising us up into recalibrating ourselves to attract more people, more situations, more opportunity to attract the abundance and share it out. And again, that abundance comes in so many different forms. So if you have this channel in your chart, you are most definitely in that energy of being able to make and acquire money, to feel at home in the material world. Your environment around yourself very likely is going to either be talking about money matters in a business that deals with money, resources, positions of power, prestige, and knowing that money is a blessing. Money doesn't have to be a curse. It doesn't have to be something that is evil. Money is simply energy. There is honestly no difference between a $1 bill and a $100 bill other than the energy that we place around it. When you can step in the position of just aligning yourself and trusting that whatever you're here to do, the resources will be made available to you if it is what your soul is here to carry out. That is aligning yourself with trust. But it's breaking away from the conditioned belief that we have to compete with others to get it, that there is a lack of abundance, there's a lack of position, there's a lack of resources. This is what the world has conditioned us to believe. When you open up the flow to sharing with one another, supporting one another, training one another, then you are stepping into your destined path. You are walking through the fear story that tries to protect itself by controlling what it has out of fear. Fear will not get the seed of you to bloom, to flower, to create seeds of its own, to draw back down into the earth, to sprout up as new possibilities. It is an endless cycle of prosperity when it's coming from the open heart. It remains a seed of suppression when you're staying in the fear vibration. You're staying in the shadow, you're staying in the dark. It cannot come up into the light in order to grow. So this is energy that is very tribal. It is helping us to connect with one another from the highest good. There is a natural giving and receiving quality here that encourages you to know when it is your turn to dig in and get your hands dirty, and also when it's time for you to sit back and allow yourself to receive from other people, to let them do the work. So we're not here to be slaves, we're here to balance giving and receiving, and that is one of the laws of the universe. So if you have a tendency to be the giver, but you're not allowing yourself to receive, you're going to be out of balance. You are closing the door to your heart that is really telling your heart that you're not worthy enough to receive from someone else, that you can take care of yourself, which keeps you in the illusion of separation from the rest of the tribe. It hurts other people when you refuse their gifts, when you don't appreciate what they want to express in love. So somebody may have the abundance of being able to gift $100. Another person may have the ability to gift $1. But if both are coming from the purity of love, that is an equal exchange in the relationship. So noticing for yourself, are you balancing the giving and receiving? Are you in that tendency of receiving way more? And maybe you have to dig into your own willpower to say, you know what? I got to change my lifestyle because something is not working. Looking at the patterns, looking at where those resources are going, what is draining you of the money? Are you giving to something that is not prosperous? And that could be a belief system of giving to a child that is ready to take care of themselves, is able to take care of themselves, and maybe has their own belief system or addictive pattern that is enabling them to not grow past a certain point. Coming into the wisdom of the elder, what is best for the tribe? Sometimes individuals have to leave the tribe to go out and seek life for themselves to then come back home and share their wisdom and their knowledge. Trusting that whatever is meant to be will unfold, that we're not here to control life, we're here to be a part of life. So just like Gemini, this side and that side, the air sign, the communication, you are in the house of communication. There is a balance in here. There's a balance of caring for the tribe. There's a balance of caring for yourself. There's a balance of striving for material wealth. There's a balance of adhering to your values. There is a balance of being generous to a fault, and there's a balance of greed, our ego. So we want to come into harmony within that, to look for a win-win situation. We've been taught that somebody has to lose, that there's a winner and there's a loser. There is energetically an opportunity to win-win when you come from the higher self-guidance. But that doesn't mean that the other person is going to be happy about it. It's like the parent that tells the child, no, you cannot have any more candy. No, you cannot have that toy. The child is obviously going to have a reaction to that because it wants something. It hasn't acquired the patience and the inner resolve to be able to handle disappointment. It is something we have to learn to grow through. And that is only something that comes with time and maturity. So we can have compassion with that, but we can stand as the king and the queen in royalty, knowing it shapes character to do the work that is necessary to build your strong foundation. And the only person that can build the strong foundation of you is yourself. So it takes time, it takes dedication, it takes awareness, it takes willingness to go back and straighten out some of those nails or maybe tear down a couple walls, really looking at the landscape, looking at the front, looking at the back, looking at how high you want to go, what is required to get there, what ultimately will bring you the most joy, the most satisfaction, and are you cutting yourself off from the rest of humanity by not letting other people into the heart of that experience for yourself. We're now going to step into the teachings of the Gene Keys. So we're following along with the book, The Gene Keys. This is by Richard Rudd. I do highly encourage you to get a copy of this if it's available to you. And the way the gene key works is in human design, all those numbers in your chart, those are gates. Well, now the key is coming in through gene keys to open up the gate and take us further into the inner alchemy potential that we can do at a cellular DNA level. So in this case, we're going to learn about the shadow of dominance, the dilemma of insecurity, the gift of synergy, and the Sudi of communion, which is the highest light aspect within this. So starting with the shadow of dominance and the dilemma of insecurity. And these are clips taken from the Book of the Gene Keys itself with some extra contemplation. When you look into the core resource for the majority of our problems on this planet, you will find that they all center around a single issue: food. Because human beings have to eat to survive, food is symbolic of real power. Whoever controls the food resources has the power. And in today's modern world, food is symbolized by money. As long as you have enough money, you can survive. Historically, we have learned that in staying together, our chance of survival increases. So historically, as tribes multiplied, natural hierarchies developed, placing a leader or leaders at the top in positions of power and other members ranked underneath according to their level of skill and deemed value to the tribe. So we live in a hierarchical society. The practices of that order are everywhere. It is alive today. We don't go on conquests anymore for food and for territory, but we do seek after money and wealth. That is our modern day currencies. And you can look around the world everywhere, and there is somebody at the top controlling the power, controlling the resources, living a life of abundance. And then that trickles down and down and down to various levels of society. It's really interesting because when you look at the concept of a pyramid, well, a pyramid is supported by what is at its base. But yet in our society, we devalue what is there, keeping everything else up. We are not looking at putting enough resources into those areas. The 45th shadow of dominance lies at the heart of our whole evolutionary tendency to operate out of hierarchies. We remain victims of the shadow of dominance because we still live for ourselves rather than for each other. Our idea of survival only extends as far as the immediate or extended family, if there is one. So the fear that's existing within this 45th shadow, it doesn't allow us to transcend family bloodlines. Our loyalty is primarily confined to our family. So, contemplate that for yourself for a moment. You go out, you go to work, you bring in resources to put food and shelter on your table and provide for yourself and your family. And if you're in a position to do so, you might also help your extended family. But we don't see beyond that. We don't see our neighbors a lot of the times as part of our family. We don't see our community often as part of the family. Our town, our city, our province, our country, our state, wherever you are, we don't extend that. We have been taught that it's every man for itself. We are still operating in the fear vibrations of survival, survival of the fittest, the animal tendencies. We forget that we have grown in our evolution, that we have grown the ajna, our ability to self-actualize, our ability to innovate, to come up with new ideas, to problem solve, to invent. And we also have this beautiful connection through the solar plex, our emotional awareness, where we do feel one another when we allow ourselves to go into the higher vibrations. We don't see how Earth is one globe of humanity that is supported by a vast universe. We see ourselves as a single entity in there. It is like the cell within the body trying to operate all by itself, yet it cannot control the body. It's only when we work together that the body operates most efficiently. So we're taught that in order to find your security within the hierarchical structure, you must exert dominance. You have to push somebody down in order that you can rise up. And this doesn't mean necessarily physical. When you go and apply for a job, there's likely a lot of other candidates applying for the job. Well, somebody wins and other people are pushed out of that riding. Now, yes, there is opportunities in there to be recognized for skill sets and different positions that the organization needs. But if you look at it in terms of money and resources, the organization is focusing all of its energy towards maximizing profits to compete in a world with others. It is a system game. They want people to feel as part of the system in order for the system to operate at its best. It's not worried about the individual. It's not worrying about you feeding your family. It's not worried about what's in it for you. It wants you to feed the system. So it's a fear-based system that's focused on the oppression and dishonoring of other human beings. They no longer know you by name, most organizations. You're a number, and you're easily replaceable within that. But we remain trapped in the hierarchy because it's our hierarchy that feeds us. This is all we know, many of us, is to be in a structure, to be taken care of by the structure. We likely don't like the structure. We see a lot of things wrong with the structure, but we feel unable to break free of that very structure. It is out of our most ancient fear of not having enough that we created the whole civilization. Every single human being is an unconscious participant in the world we see around us. And this started in our early evolution, where we got the egoic desire to go out and conquer new lands, to get new resources, and to really exert the dominance over other cultures, other way of lives. We have a whole history of individuals coming in and eradicating certain cultures, certain individuals. We have a lot of awareness of how Aboriginals were pushed off the land, natives to the land. They were dominated by something else. We have religions coming in and imposing belief systems. There are so many opportunities to look at our history to see where the shadow of dominance came in, to see where it's really felt by this insecurity of not having enough, needing more power, needing more control, keeping people in fear, fear so that they support that control system. And that's still in existence today. Our entire hierarchy is based around money. Our healthcare system is reliant upon it. Our educational systems, our housing, our food, our governance, everything is based around money. Yet at the same time, humans are evolving and we are ascending. We are in a process right now of ascending from a three-dimensional way of living, all about the self, into the 5D reality, which is looking at things from connection, from the sense of we are all in this together. So what we are seeing is the systems that are based on fear will naturally crumble. And we're seeing how our healthcare is not working any longer. The educational systems aren't working any longer. We have housing crisis. We have food shortages. There are issues with governments. There's corruption that's coming forward. So everything is being revealed as the foundations are crumbling in the systems that are no longer serving the highest good in this ascension into our 5D reality. When we are repressed in our shadow state of dominance, we are timid. And when you're timid, it's anyone that's going to bow their head to authority. And when doing so, your inner spirit is dominated by somebody else higher up than you, someone else that's higher up in that hierarchy. So it's listening to the boss without question. We have a whole generation that was raised during the Industrial Revolution that was taught to do whatever the boss said and do not question. And if you question them, you would lose your job. And if you lost your job, you could not feed your family. So it was fear-based control. We were also taught to respect the leaders in the church. Don't question them. Follow along with blind faith. So that is submitting your inner authority, the parts of you going, but that doesn't feel right. That doesn't sound right. There's more, there's other ways of doing things. That doesn't feel fair to me. It's not honoring those voices. It is falling in line with a crushed spirit doing whatever society tells you to do, whatever authority tells you to do. And it is fear-based. They're willing to compromise their freedom for the sake of not rocking your boat. And I really want to encourage anybody who has a solar plex, an emotional center that is white in your chart. So you are of sacral authority, or you are of splenic authority, self-authority, ego authority, mental authority, outer authority. Anybody who is not of emotional authority, really ask yourself, how many times do you go against what your body's telling you to do, what your higher self's telling you to do, because you don't want to rock the boat? Well, that is being repressive in the shadow of dominance. That is not trusting in your inner spirit to guide the way, to stand firm in your foundation and to say, no, that's not right. Regardless of the consequences that are going to come back, it's trusting that behavior is not correct. So putting up healthy boundaries for yourself to not accept that. When it is timid, it doesn't believe any good can come from resisting or challenging someone in a higher position. So sometimes as young children, we learn that if we question or we resist the authority of our parents or caregivers, that there will be consequences that you don't want. So as you grow, you hold that fear inside yourself. And even as an adult who is now in control of what you do, your time, your resources, your money, you may still go into that repressive state, that timidness around somebody who exerted a higher power over you and kept you in a fear position as a child. So it's learning to recognize how certain individuals can trigger that within self, and then learning to heal those aspects of you by nourishing that child and literally setting yourself free from the fear story by having those loving conversations, by noticing what's coming up from you, by seeing the other person in their position of the fear shadow of dominance, maybe looking at other opportunities to see beyond them. Is this a pattern of conditioning within my family line? Is this a pattern of conditioning in a belief system? Is this something within yourself that you're now ready to break that chain, to work through your own timidness by empowering yourself to put yourself in the driver's seat, the place of royalty, to be the observer, and to trust that you can invest in what you know feels right and not invest in the rest. So it is a state of becoming the victim, and we've all been there. So we want to catch it. We don't want to feed it. You don't want to feed those parts of yourself that want to stay the victim. We want to empower them to set it free. So that is the inner child a lot of times, empowering yourself, learning as many skills as you can, and not out of fear, but because it gives you tools to then share with others, to then come together in a greater understanding, to show yourself how many things you are able to do, how many things you already have within yourself that are beautiful resources that contribute to the whole. So turning the victim story into one of self-empowerment. When we look at the reactive side of the shadow of dominance, this is pompous. So this is where we've literally been taught that if you want to succeed in life, you're going to have to climb your way to the top. And to climb your way to the top, you're going to have to step over everybody else that is trying to beat you there. You have to be better than they are. So it is cutthroat. It is an obsession of climbing the ladder, of being seen, of being recognized. And that doesn't necessarily mean in a business. That can be in the friend group. Always wanting other people to see you and to respond to what it is you bring to the table. unwilling to look at what others contribute, unwilling to let other people in to help you, feeling the sense of super independence where I got this, I can figure it out, therefore alienating everything else or closing the door to support. It is assuming positions of power over people and making sure that they remain timid in order to maintain control over them. So if anybody has been raised by a dominating parent, caregiver, teacher, you're going to feel this. You're going to feel this within your body, within your mind, within the heart of you, where somebody had overshadowed you and made you feel weaker than you truly were because they were living in a fear-based existence, that in order for them to feel better about themselves, they had to make others feel weaker. That is the victimizer. We have all been a victim of a victimizer. We've also all been the victimizer. In some form, we have all been on both sides of this energy. So it's really an opportunity for you to do your own self-reflection to see in that shadow of dominance. Where do you see yourself as repressive? Where do you see yourself as reactive? What triggers it? What is the fear story at the root of that that prevents you from coming into the balance, opening up to the connection and the help and the support of others, of balancing the giving and the receiving, of knowing that you can absolutely go out and have a successful career, earn lots of money, have lots of nice things, and also be open to supporting others. Knowing that there is more than enough abundance to go out. Do you believe that there is more than enough abundance? Do you believe that the universe will provide for you? Do you believe that you are looked after by the laws of the universe? Do you trust in your inner authority to guide the way? Or are you trapped in the structure, the hierarchy, as a safety net because that is all you've ever known? And is it working for you? Are you feeling something within yourself that is maybe ready to look at that from a different lens? To break out of either the reactive or repressive nature requires that one take a great risk and break the pattern of one's interaction within family, business, government, and society. One has to stand alone as a living model of a new kind of system which involves individual spirit, is respected above all else. So can you take yourself out of a hierarchy and respect you? Can you fall so deeply in love with you to see yourself as sovereign, to see yourself as royalty, to not compromise your core values, to not walk in a direction that you know is not right for you, and to trust that the universe will support you when you are in alignment to your higher self and doing what it is that your soul came here to do. Can you see how many different forms of prosperity there are? Can you see your life as full of abundance? Are you taking the time to stop and smell the roses and to sit in the blessings? Or are you feeding a lack story? So to break out of those lower vibrating energies, you first have to fill yourself up with community, with tribe, with support. And that means reaching out to your guidance team, your spiritual team, your guardians, your angels, the ascended masters, all of those who have walked the earth before you and can guide the way. We forget that we have the free will and we have to invite them in. So breathing in and up to now rise the vibration higher. And this is going to bring us into the gift of synergy. This is what is naturally occurring in the world right now. As our systems are no longer working and we're starting to see the dismantling of them, it can feel like chaos, but when you trust that just like the phoenix burning into the ashes, that the new is then reborn, this is what's transpiring. We are naturally moving towards the gift of synergy. We are moving from a hierarchy to a heterarchy. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Heterarchy. The hierarchy and the heterarchy. The heterarchy, think of it in terms of the angelic realm. The angelic realm does not have ego. They are systems of energy, light, color, sound, virtuous. So they are higher vibrating energies that all work together in alignment for the highest good. So a hierarchy is where information flows from the top down. Any action and decision requires permission from somebody above you in order to carry it through. Well, a heterarchy is when information flows horizontally. It's when you see a community and everybody is standing side by side and everybody is of equal value. Information is flowing through them. In the world of business, when we look at something like government, right now, government has all these different departments. It has to get information from somewhere else, and a lot of times they don't talk to each other. When we move that into a hetargy situation, totally butchering the word, and that's okay. We don't have to know it to understand it. That is then when we see businesses talking to one another within an organization, sharing information, sharing resources, really supporting one another to bring out the best of the gifts within that department. So responsibility and decision making is distributed equally throughout the system. Synergy is recognizing the need for both independent and group empowerment. So when you're working with the gift energy, you're allowing the best of you, your natural self, your authentic self, to form part of a team, and you will have a genetic match. We're seeing soul groups naturally come together as you're raising your frequency. You don't have to force that, it just naturally occurs. Then you start working with individuals who are also operating at their best self, and magic starts to occur. Everybody gets the benefit of the best from all the members. Information flows, ideas flow, symmetry flows, and everything that felt to be so hard was just natural and easy. It operates very similar to the core principles around democracy, that decision making should and must be collective in nature. So it values the expressions of the team because those expressions are coming from the higher self. It is not shadows, egos sitting around a table trying to make decision. We live in a world right now where the ego enters the table before the individuals even arrive. You can't listen, you can't have progress when the ego is leading the way. When we learn how to let our higher selves come together, you're invested in the collective, you're invested in the whole, you're invested in having something that is new, something that is supportive. Now there's an openness to sharing ideas, sharing resources, bringing gifts together, and operating from the very best of who you are. In the world of business, synergy and hierarchy would see businesses cross-pollinate with each other. That moves more energy through a system. So every business would bring their best to the table. They would share in that. It's like a bee going to a flower. It leaves a little trace of each flower behind as it is cultivating nectar. So more energy is able to move through when a business is allowed to focus on its strengths and it allows its weaknesses to be supported by another business who that is their strengths. And now we have this beautiful opportunity to be more efficient. So clients and customers are now shared between the various businesses that make up the network. The business focuses on the long-term goal. It understands the fractal energy of goodwill, has the real power and not the profitability. When we're focused on profitability, that's when we're climbing over each other. That's when we're trying to compete. We're afraid of sharing our resources. We're afraid of getting together and brainstorming. We're stuck in a silo. You're stuck in the smallness of self. Goodwill means to extend the olive branch, helping somebody up. You have a service that can be of benefit to another, and you offer it without expectation. Well, we do that at the level of individuals, humanities, you and I. We all have things that can be a natural benefit to others. When we're operating from the fullness of our love, from the openness of a heart, you just naturally step in and do it. You're not expecting anything in return. It's just who you are. And when you operate from that level, you're also receiving what you're needing from other people that are open to the same vibration and answering their call. So that's the fractal energy. It keeps growing and spreading as we realize we're all part of this divine matrix. We're all connected to the great body. So as you start to turn your light on, you attract other lights and so forth. You start to feed each other's light. It grows outward from there into the bigger network. In the long term, it's more efficient to move together in synergy than to waste energy in competition. It takes a lot of energy to always be looking over your back or worrying about what you're doing or to feel like you got to do better than your neighbor. When you can just funnel all your energy into cultivating your passion, your joy, your talent, your light, in the long run, that is of the greatest service to yourself and the whole. Everyone benefits by you being your authentic self and doing what it is that your soul came here to do. So synergy moves to serve the collective rather than the individual. And we are at a time in our world where we are moving through that ascension energy. So we will see the breaking down of the hierarchy structure. We will see the natural rise of these pockets of individuals coming together with new innovations, new ways that are focused on the collective health and well-being. You can start preparing yourself for this ascension by doing your own inner work, by bringing out your own gifts, by focusing on standing in the strong foundation of yourself, moving through and releasing your fears, cultivating your faith, trusting in your ability to build the relationship with your higher self, to know and to align yourself to what serves the highest good, to believe in yourself, to fill up on your self-worth, your self-esteem, your self-empowerment, to treat yourself as regal, to respect yourself, to demand respect for yourself, to be in control of what is yours to control and release that is what you are not. There are so many ways that you can empower yourself to be on the leading edge of this natural change and to be a guiding light for others, to be a leader towards the true gift of prosperity. And this is where we come to the bee. This is a vision that came to me in my contemplation of really looking at how the last three gate activations within Gemini season, they've had a relationship. We started with our journey in gate 16, the very start of the Ring of Prosperity, and it bypassed one single gate until coming into this one, gate 45 of Synergy. So we had the figure eight that was formed. We had a relationship between two different gates, two different gene keys to form the Ring of Prosperity. The gift of versatility, so doing as many things as possible, filling up and equipping yourself with a lot of tools, knowing there's many paths to get to Rome. It doesn't have to be just one way, in one form and in one structure. You can use your gift and apply it to many areas of life. That then brings you into synergy, connecting with individuals that support your gifts so that your gifts together are enhanced for the greatest good. That is where everybody becomes prosperous in that relationship. Well, in the middle of that, in our gate from last week, laid the Ring of Miracles. The vibration, the body of the bee being of two different colors, of being the pollinator for the flowers, of getting out into life and acquiring honey. Well, that is a representation of us. We have been given free will. We have the ability to tap into the gift of adventure, allowing yourself to literally have relationships with others. That is symbolic of the flowers, to learn from them, to get a piece of their honey, their knowledge, their wisdom, and then to keep going and visiting more and more and more. This is the gift of allowing yourself to be open, to be honest, to having relationships with others, to find out what vibrates with you, what is resonating with who you are, allowing yourself to challenge your beliefs by being willing to listen to somebody else's beliefs, allowing yourself to be the student, not to feel like you have all the answers, that you have to do it by yourself, but to see and experience the beauty of diversity. So we're given the free will of that. Life can take us on a beautiful adventure. And when we allow ourselves to just be taught by life, to be guided by life, to trust in life and not fight life, we will see how sweet a journey life really is. How much prosperity already exists, how many flowers are already in abundance, how much honey and nectar is there that we can be so intoxicated by the light of others, by the gifts of others, that miracles do occur. So it's keeping yourself as the vibration of the bee. And the bee, when you look into its spiritual meaning and its animal nature, it is so delicate that if it goes to a flower that has a chemical added to it, it will die. Well, that is us when we're not drinking from the purity of life, but we're settling on what is toxic to us. The fears, the shadows, the manipulation, the greed, the control, our spirit dies. It doesn't go away, but it remains withered and trapped within us. It is our job to nourish our body, our mind, and our soul in order to fly and live our best life. That is a personal choice. That is not up to anybody else. It is up to you. It is taking full responsibility for your part in the equation. raising your own vibration. And when enough of us rise, the world rises. So it's not about what your neighbor's doing. It's not about getting other people to enhance their skills. It's about allowing your vibration to rise so high that you inspire others to want to come on an adventure with you, to come and experience the prosperity of life. And that is the true meaning of the channel of money, the channel of abundance, the channel of energy is to share in that gift as we all rise to the forefront of that. The more we diversify our resources and unite them, the more successful and efficient we will come. So look at your collaborations. Start opening yourself up to friendships that help bring out the best in you. Start offering that to other people. Start aligning yourself to businesses that really support that mandate of giving to the community, of giving that goodwill. Look at those areas that are worth investing. Look at other areas that it's time for change. We can all make these tweaks within ourselves to start moving in the direction of greater synergy within the world. In order for world poverty to end, people must be self-empowered rather than rescued. This means that they must be educated on how to become self-sufficient at all levels. They have to use the technology that enables them to provide for themselves. So just imagine a networked educational and support base for parents and children to draw from, rather than having to send children out to institutions that both alienate and homogenize them. Children can then cross-pollinate with other families through play, and as they grow, through mentoring in a wide array of creative business possibilities. In this way, education, finance, and family support all begin to come together in a single unified network. This is our future possibilities. Raising children by parents who are there to help fine-tune the child's natural gifts, to allow them to learn through play, not telling them who they are, not molding them into what society wants, but honoring the child's unique energy, allowing for so many opportunities to learn to grow, not just from the parents, but from the whole community. Going back to the concept of it takes a village to raise a child. Well, in each one of us is that child, the inner child that is so thirsty for life. It is thirsty to get out there to play. It is thirsty for knowledge. It's thirsty for relationships that help to support and to guide and to mentor. That is what we are seeking. And you can connect with your inner child today to start aligning yourself with those individuals that you can learn from. You're not here to be them. You're here to be inspired by certain aspects of what they can help guide you to see within yourself. But it's about allowing yourself to have as many experiences as possible to discover what it is that you truly like, to have adventures, to have fun, to see the miraculous. And it's not in this great big aha moment that we sometimes imagine. Our most defining moments are in the everyday life. It's in cooking, it's in cleaning, it's in doing the chores, it's in going to your workplace. It is all the little tiny things that we discount because we're so busy chasing a dream, an illusion, a fear of what we believe prosperity means. We overlook so many miracles throughout our day. We overlook what it takes to get that food to the table. How many resources, how much energy, how many people played a role to give you the food that's required to nourish your body. It is really slowing down to appreciate life, to appreciate the connection with others, to not be too busy to shut that out, but to really define prosperity for yourself, looking at ways to enhance prosperity in your life, and really feeding into the tribal network of letting yourself be supported as you support others, not being afraid to let people in, and trusting that you will know who is correct for you and who is not when you build that relationship with your inner authority. This brings us into the study of communion. And when I first saw this, I was really reluctant to bring it in and to share it with class. And then that's my honest reflection. I had a fear of judgment. I had a fear of speaking to this. But now that we're sitting here, now that we've traveled through this energy together and we are connecting at a soul level, at a higher level, we are in the energy of synergy right now. Well, the step into the study of communion is really looking at things from the view of mysticism. And we have so many religions around the world, and at the core of the religions, there is a commonality. The religions themselves all created their own hierarchy. They all created their own structure. They all created their own step-by-step manual. But throughout history and the timelines, we can look at different symbols, different stories, different elements. And if we don't see things as black and white, but we allow for the mysteries to reveal themselves through us, to know that there's always more to the story. Well, here's an opportunity to bring in a painting that is known across many aspects of the world as the Last Supper of Christ. And I was born within the Catholic Church religion myself. I've gone through the teachings. I have come out and I've experienced some other religions. And then I have left all religions to walk the path of spiritualism. And this isn't to teach any religion. It's not to condone it. It's not to say if it's right or if it's wrong. It's purely to bring in an element of mysticism, which means having a personal relationship with God, the divine source, the creator, whatever that is to yourself. And the Book of the Gene Keys really dives deep into this whole aspect of communion, communion being the Holy Communion. So in the teachings of mysticism, Jesus was a man who walked the earth, very human like you or I, but came fully enlightened, came as an ascended being, came to show the way through the teachings of love. Now, religion has used a lot of that, and we see aspects of Christ on the cross. And a lot of us are kept in the fear base of the crucifixion and what the crucifixion means. And there's also another side to that that teaches us about the resurrection. There is a bridge between crucifying and resurrecting, death and suffering, and coming back to life in a changed state of being. When we look at the bridge of love in between that, and we look at the teachings of the Last Supper, it is really talking about the sharing of bread, the sharing of a meal with one another. Well, in this context, when Christ says, "This is my body," and he shares the bread with everybody, he's talking about the body of humanity, the body of the infant that is in the womb, the child of God, of source, of the creator, our innocence. Together, humanity is an innocent child. When he shares the wine and says, drink of this, this is my blood. Well, that represents our DNA. It represents our umbilical cord connection. When you trace it back to the roots, humanity was seeded. We are all connected through DNA to an original source that feeds us, that nourishes us, that protects us, that watches over us. Whether you call that God, source, the creator, it doesn't matter. There is a oneness to that. So when you start seeing humanity as this infant child that is held literally in the womb, in the dark, in our unknowing, we're here to remember our origins, to remember where we came from. And it is only through love and understanding and patience and grace and all those higher virtuous aspects that will bring us back in to rising from the child to the enlightened master, the ascended master, who is now really in a state of being ready to learn, that we then can see ourselves from a higher vantage point. So there are stories all over the place. There's many opportunities to look at any religion, anything that you might be drawn to look at the different teachings of that. To not ever feel like you know all the answers. You might be in a position of feeling like, I really don't know anything. I don't know what is true or what's not true any longer. And it's really a state of allowing ourselves to be emptied, to be filled, to get out of our own way, to be taught by the ultimate master, to allow your spirit to guide the way. So we have to get out of our way to allow the spirit to guide the way. And that's really an opportunity to carve out space within your day to really sit in the gratitude for everything that you do have, to notice how supported you really are, how much abundance you really have, to invest in your relationships, to invest in the parts of you that are asking you to be grown, to be shared with the world itself, and not being afraid to step into your light, not being afraid to branch off into a direction that is appearing different from the way that everybody else is going, but to just see it as, well, you're awakening. It is your time to take this seed and sprout up into the light. The other seeds are still there, and it's not our job to tell them when it's their turn to awaken. They will naturally get that within themselves when that inner call in the DNA encourages them to break free. But it is a journey that each and every one of us has to experience for ourselves. It's not a competition. It's not a race. It's not a step-by-step manual. It's allowing yourself to just immerse in life, to enjoy the gift of being here, to trust that your soul chose your body, your human vessel, because you are exactly what it needs to carry out its destined plan, and to learn to love yourself as best as you can, and then to reach out for the guidance to take you even further, to cross the bridge from crucifying yourself, condemning yourself, to rising up into the enlightenment, the resurrection of seeing from a new perspective, from a new opportunity, so that you can then expand that light outwards and help support the rise of others who are just inspired by what it is you're doing. And if you've ever been in the presence of somebody who just feels to be succeeding at life, they're happy, they're joyful, those are the opportunities to not look at them with jealousy and envy, but to want to learn from them, to observe from them. Are they thriving in their relationships because they're taking the time to cultivate those relationships? Are they thriving in business because they found a position that really nurtures their skills, what they came here to do? Or are they just pretending to have an existence? So no longer comparing yourself to anybody else, but using others as a mere reflection to learn and grow yourself, to heal the inner child, those wounded aspects of self, and to step into your own divinity, to treat yourself as sovereign, the king, the queen, the rulership over your financial education, which means you're here to thrive. And in the world we live in, that means putting yourself in the position to acquire the abundance that really does feed what it is that you are here to do. So trusting that whatever is yours cannot be taken away from you. And when you believe in yourself, then you give the information out to the universe that says, I'm ready to receive what is needed to support my growth. It requires an open heart, it requires faith, and you will be tested to make sure that this is what you really truly want. Because just like the seed that comes into the plant, that comes into the flower, it's not easy. They have to adjust to all sorts of weather patterns and infestations and not stop flowering. They gotta hold their course no matter what. So that is our journey that is ahead of us. That was a beautiful journey that we just took over the last couple gate activations to explore the channel of prosperity, the ring of miracles in the middle. Our next gate on the other side of this is going to bring us into one more ring. That's another standalone island through gate number 12. And in this case, we're going to learn in our next teaching about the gate of secrets. So I would love to hear in the comments below how this resonates with you, what's coming up for you. Help support one another in a sense of building community, and really see if you can start to become aware as to what is one of your natural gifts. What is something that you just do that is easy for you to do, but is of true benefit, not just for yourself, but for humanity? Let us share those together and see what we all bring to this beautiful table in the synergy of finding community within these resources and within these teaching. I look forward to greeting you within our next video. Take care. Bye-bye.